Good morning, everyone. I'm Jonathan Crisp, one of the directors at BarnOwl. Thank you very much for coming through today. I know it's always quite difficult to get to the office with the traffic and that, but it's very good to see you guys. And Terence is going to give us a brilliant presentation today. I know I've seen Terence's presentations, not this one, but they're very entertaining. I'm going to just read a little bit about Terence's background so that you know who is presenting here to you. Terence is a director of Rui Consulting, which is a strategic consulting business, and focusing on deal origination and fund raising for small business. Terence also works or is involved with Matchy, which she was telling us about, which sources financial technologies for banking sector, so really almost, I wouldn't call it venture capital, but it's looking for technology businesses and matching them to requirements of big organizations. So very innovative. Terence's background, worked at Mintech for 4 years, lectured at university for 2 years, developed household chemicals at Reckitt's Benkesa. You can tell us more about those kind of chemicals. And then changed tack and went into Nedbank Capital for 12 years and focused on mergers and acquisitions, and spent several years heading up executive head of strategy, marketing and human resources, and spearheaded the transformation efforts of Nedbank Capital. So yeah, very involved in strategy. And then Terence is a strong volunteer aspect and assists in religious and charitable organizations, is a member of Wits Business School Advisory Board, and is the chairman of Wits Business Alumni, as well as being a member of the social welfare body, Joburg Institute of Social Services. So people like that, well done Terence. I mean, it's not just all about business, it's also about just giving back to people in the community. And we really thank you for coming today.
John, thanks very much for inviting me. So today's talk, and what I want to go through today is just to remind you of something, that everyone who's in business has a very fundamental assumption about business. And that assumption is that you will be in business tomorrow. You know, does anyone sit in this room thinking, sure, I'm not sure whether we're going to be in business tomorrow? Absolutely, most of you think that business will exist tomorrow. It might exist next week. Sure, there are risks, there are competitive risks, and there are issues, and there's external issues that comes along. But fundamentally, you think this business is going to be here tomorrow, right? And that's your fundamental assumption. Now, what I'm going to talk about today is that assumption is starting to get increasingly flawed, and very, very quickly. So, if you want to stay, my talk is managing risks to stay in business, and largely, I don't know who I'm speaking to today, but I'm assuming largely many of you are involved in the risk field in some shape or form. Is that correct? In some shape or form. So, one of the great things about risks is that once you know what your risks are, you know how to manage it. So, if you are in exchange rate, you're an importer or you're an exporter. So you know exchange rate is going to be a risk. You have no idea what the level of the rand-dollar rate is going to be. But you can manage it. There are tools you've got to manage it. You can take a hedge, you can take a forward. There are things you can do. Now, one of the things about the risk community is fantastic, is that you have great risk frameworks. Once you know what the risk is, you've got tons of frameworks that you can put it in. No problem. The only thing is, it only works if you know what your risk is. It only works if you know what your risk is. What if you don't know what your risk is? Because you can only manage what you see. So effectively, you can only fight the enemy you know. But what about the enemy you don't know? Now, many years ago, that wasn't a problem because your enemy was usually your competitor and you saw what he was doing every day. Now, who knows where the enemy is coming from? In each of your businesses, if you think your competitor is the one you know, that's a flawed assumption. Right, and I'm going to demonstrate a few of them. So here's this, and this is, by the way, none of which I'm showing you here, most of you know, I think. So it's getting so much harder to identify a risk. Really, and I'll show you why. Now, these companies felt safe about the businesses. Hotels been around for ages. Why? Because when you want accommodations, you go to a hotel room. Right. Airbnb, has anyone used it?
Yeah.
Right. Increasingly. And who doesn't know what it is, by the way? Please be honest here. You know, I just want to get right. So Airbnb is one of the biggest accommodation companies in the world. It doesn't own a single building. Because you know what the assumption of the hotel business is? What is the underlying assumption of the hotel business? Is what? Own your building. Right. Once you have a competitor who says, why? Why do I have to own my building? Now he's not your direct competitor anymore. Because he's not coming from the same mindset you're coming from. He's coming from a totally different mindset. Please, wait a minute. What do people want? They want accommodation. Does it matter whether you own your accommodation or not? Airbnb, no, we won't. We just see a gap there. We used a piece of technology to bridge the supply and the demand. That's it. Right, so suddenly now, biggest company, one of the biggest accommodation companies in the world. Right. So hotels were safe for how long? How long have hotels been around, by the way? A long time. I actually think of it now, about 15 years ago, I stayed in a 17th century hotel in Paris. 17th century, been around for ages. They never, Marriott, Sun International, their competitors, when they look at their market share, who they're looking at? They're looking at City Dogs, they're looking at Protea. Right? They didn't even conceive of Airbnb. And suddenly it's just taking them completely under their rug. Right. Taxi companies, everyone knows where we're going to with this. Absolutely everyone knows where we're going to. Uber is the thing. I own it. And what is Uber? It is an app. At the heart of it, it is an app. Right? It does some very cool things, but at the heart of it is an app. Because they looked and said, what do the clients want? I mean, as Jonathan pointed out, my field is in strategy and innovation. So if you look at the different lanes on some of the workshops that we do, is what job does a customer want done? He wants to get from there to here. The thing is, the current model is you have to hire a taxi. But if you just think, wait a minute, what job does a customer want? He wants to get from A to B. He doesn't really care how he gets there. And that's how Uber turns out. Just, why do we need to own our cars? So if you have industries with fundamental assumptions, you think, man, you'll never succeed without that assumption. You don't have to own your buildings, you don't have to own your cars. Right? And then you have to start thinking in your business, so what's the fundamental assumption we have for our business? Retailers, you have shops. Because people are always going to come to us to buy. No, absolutely. Alibaba, now I've lost the numbers here, but I think there's something called Singles Day in China. Right, so it's like Valentine's Day on steroids. I think, and if I've got my numbers right, because they change, 40 million transactions a minute. And I'm probably understating it a little bit. It's an outrageous amount of stuff is being done in there. Enormous amounts of money being spent. I mean, to get to that kind of numbers, what they do in one day is more than what bricks and mortar will do for ages. Now you're a retailer. You better start thinking about what it is that you got and your product mix. Because your competitor is not the shop next to you. Competitor is somewhere else, in this case China. Or in fact, it's actually not in China. It's somewhere out there in the ether, in the cloud. You don't even know who they are. Right. So, media companies, again, it's if you follow newspapers, you know, I kind of grew up before the flood. But so I love my newspapers, and it took me ages to get to start reading on my phone. Really did. You know, I'm still the old-fashioned book. So media companies have assets, and assets in that case is not physical assets. It's all the content they provide. Because what is a newspaper? Once you read it, throw it away. It's the content they provide. You know what's the biggest creator of content in the world?
Google.
Yes, Okay, so Google doesn't create the content. It merely searches it. Which is the number one creator in the world of content? 500 million people who so join every year, something ridiculous like that. Who has, in your Facebook account, if you look through every day all the new stuff that's there, you will spend all day looking at it. You won't do any work. And I mean, it took me a while again because I grew up earlier. Is now I actually, all my sports results all come on Facebook. So every morning I keep track on all my articles there on Facebook. People say, you're a Facebooker. I said, yes, but I actually have posted 2 things in the last year. And my kids, my son is 14 years old and he's I think 6-year-old picture is still there. I haven't changed it. But I am a huge Facebook user. I mean, I'm not embarrassed to say it. Because I actually use it because that's where I read my articles. Because the kind of people who connected with me, they post articles that interest me. So there's always been the sport. The next morning, if I want to know what happened with the results the day before, that's where I get it from. And you know what this is? This is user-generated content. Facebook does not generate any content. It's the users that generate the content. What's the fundamental assumption of the media industry? We have a fantastic network of reporters. Who cares? Breaking news. Something's happening at the university now. Who is reporting it? The student at the university. And when are you getting it? Right now. Real time. What media are you using? That one. WhatsApp, email, whatever it is. Not a media company. So you can imagine if you're a media company, this is actually really scary. Because in fact, more and more, there's no jobs for a reporter. Why? Because all the content is being generated anyway. See, now if you look at this, now these companies, what's the point here? They felt safe about their business. Means that they never felt that they were getting any threat except from competitors who looked like them. That's it. So if you're a bank, you've got 4, 5, 6 major banks in South Africa. When you look at the market share that they give to management all the time, I was in the bank for many years. You only see Absa, Standard, Nedbank, Capitec, Investec, and FNB. Who else is in there? But because you actually don't know the guys are in the cloud there somewhere, stealing away stuff all the time from you. Apple Pay, for example, I don't use it. Apple Pay is a payment mechanism. PayPal, payment mechanism. It's taking away transactions from the bank. And you don't worry about it because it's still kind of small. But when you start looking at Alibaba, and right now, by the way, internet sales in South Africa is 1%. It's only 1%. That means there's 99% of market to run after. Can you see what I mean? And those guys are not generally paying to the banks in its entirety. You're going to start with PayPal, Stripe, Square, all of these guys, so much easier. And so banks will say, wait a minute, we're suddenly starting to lose market share, but who's getting it? And they look around and say, but no one's getting it. So who's got it? It's in the other line, and that other line is going to get bigger and bigger and bigger over time. Right? So who is the other in your industry? That's the kind of thing that we're doing. So this is Jamie Dimon, biggest company in the world, $100 billion revenue. You can't conceive of that. Right? He gave a talk last year. He said Silicon Valley is coming and they all want to eat our lunch. And what is Silicon Valley? It's basically saying tech is coming along and they need to eat us because why? We're a huge elephant. The banking industry is being protected for umpteen years. And even if you get a small part of that industry, it doesn't matter. Because imagine if someone steals 1% of JP Morgan Chase's revenue. It's $1 billion. Only 1%. Do you think they're worried about that 1%? It's a blip. But now you get 20 small companies itching away at 0.5% here, 0.5%. Suddenly you've lost 10% of your revenue. And you don't even know who you're fighting against. Because it's not Wells Fargo, it's not Bank of America, it's somewhere in the cloud, someone's stealing away these transactions. So that is what's happening. He recognizes it. And he said, how's this? Now, just what I do for a living, apart from consulting like is I do spend some time at an internet company finding fintech startups because the financial service sector is so huge. To attack that sector as a competitor, you don't need to make enormous amounts of money. You just need to chip away at small bits at a time. And a year ago, I was in Singapore, I was telling Jonathan about Cybos, and the head of Southern Asia for HSBC said, when they asked him, said, what are you going to do about this? What she says, I'm going to have to prepare for making less money in the future. Because I cannot attack all these small guys. And remember this, you know the story of Gulliver's Travels? One Lilliputian, a small, will never bring down Gulliver. But 1,000 of them will. And that's the point. Is you are fighting in your industry against competitors you know. But when there's 12,000, that was 3 years ago. Right? If all of them take away small bits and pieces, like, what's going to happen to your industry? Right? You don't even know about it. Right? In banking, we know it's over 12,000. In your industry, how many are there? Okay. Feeling blank. You don't even know. You don't even know who your competitors are right now, except the ones you think are your direct competitors. So, and how's this? There's $19 billion only last year put into fintechs. And why am I saying that? It's because the investors are saying, wait a minute, these guys are going to disrupt the industry. We should actually start getting on the ground floor with them. Do you know how much of investment is done in tech to create a competitor against you? No idea. You don't even know about this. But in banking, this is kind of, we know about this because it's a big thing. There's a whole sub-industry in fintech, and that's sort of where we play. So one of the things though about your competitors is like that 17th century hotel I spoke of. So you guys stay, which are the major hotel groups, just as an example? It's Sun, Sun International, Protea, Marriott, there's a kind of the City Lodge, maybe, sorry? Hilton, okay, it's not so major, it's just a couple of them here. But of the hotel chains, you know, we kind of know that there's a premium hotel company that's coming along to South Africa. You kind of get a sense that the global guys are going to come here. I mean, it's no surprise that Burger King was going to come into South Africa. You know, or Dunkin' Donuts, and you know, Wendy's might turn up here in a year's time or so. You know, the large global brands. You think that they're going to come along here? But do you know how long has McDonald's been around? About 60 odd years, since the 1950s. Right? Burger King maybe 30, 40 years. So you know these guys are going to come along. Paul, which is the patisserie company, they do ice creams, and I knew a year ago they're going to come along to South Africa, and they've got a small outfit right now. So, and they're going to come along slowly. You know, they're not going to come with 100 restaurants at once. It's going to come slowly. It's going to give you the time to address what are we going to do, how are we going to get the competitive response against these guys. So you've got time to prepare. Right, now how's this as a company? Launched in 2010. Right, that's 6 years ago. Right, first time it came across. Launched internationally in 2 years. Took 2 years for them to get into international competition. 5 years. 66 countries, 450 cities. 62 billion rand. What's 62 billion, sorry, dollars? What company is that? 5 years. Right. In 5 years. So if you were a taxi company and said, these guys have launched in 2010, startup, they're going to take years to be profitable. They're not going to come close to us. 2012 international, too big. No, they're going to fail in no time. What's it? Biggest taxi company in the world in 5 years. If you were a taxi company, Zebra cabs, yellow cab company, by the time you realize they're a threat, figure out what to do with them, they've already taken over the industry. And so it's not a case of saying, man, we built our company, it took us 50 years or 20 years. By the time these guys go to the learning curve, there's no learning curve. They're going absolutely straight. So, and that, by the way, is not uncommon. So, for example, just as an example, many of the African countries, they haven't gone through the telecoms learning curve of landline. Right? They just went straight from no phone to mobile. Whereas we went through the telecom, all those things took us ages to get. No, went straight to mobile. Who says that the evolution should be the same as the one you went through? Who says? Right, so now suddenly you go from there to there. Now you look at your industry and say, what would happen if a competitor came along and in 5 years got to that distribution and strength and revenue, not revenue, and value? Right, what would happen to us? Well, you know something, you're a dinosaur within no time. And you know, if you think you're cutting edge, in the last 10 years, that's cutting edge. Right, now the real problem here, apart from scaling so quickly, is the taxi companies didn't even know this was happening. One, it never anticipated it. Two, when it did come along, said, never work. Now you look at all the competitors you all have and the new guys on the block saying, no, we're going to really take over this. What's your attitude? By the time you'll go through the processes, the procedures, the compliance, you'll never make it. Do you know something? When you do, really fast. And to give you an example, there's another problem that causes problems. Is when you think, wait a minute, but it took us, they're going to spend so much money. 15 years ago, it took $5 million to start up a tech startup. Tech startup, $5 million. Within 5 years after that, it's now $500,000. 2009, $50,000 to start up a tech company. $5,000 in 2011. Now, how much does it cost now to start an e-commerce website? Do you know? Hands up. Guesses.
Nothing.
Sorry?
Nothing.
Nothing. So what happened about 2 months ago? About 2 months ago, my son who's 14 years old said, Dad, can I borrow your laptop? Why? He says, no, just for a couple hours. I said, why? No, I just want to start a website. I said, what? So, no, I just want to start a website. I want to do something on gaming. I want to try and sell some gaming. Or he was also trying to import some t-shirts, some very cool t-shirts. He says, I just want to set up the site and I'll put an e-commerce so they'll be able to pay for it. Okay. But you only want it for this afternoon. No, take me to hours. No problem. That's how long he, in his head, he's got no sense of the actual structure of how you start a business. He just said, but I saw the stuff on the internet, my mates like it, I send a mail to them and I'm waiting for them to see whether they like it. But I'm just going to put the pictures and I'm going to go to Yola or Synthesite or whomever, get a free website, already populated. Just fill in the blanks there, put some pictures in there, and plug in the e-commerce company. Shoot, and he's 14 years old, and he's not a genius. I mean, he's a clever guy. But I'm just saying that he's not absolutely, utterly special, and I love my son. Right, so he's not absolutely, utterly special genius that comes up with it. And for him, he didn't think he was doing a big deal at all. He said, I'm just going to set up a website and do this. And how much is it going to cost you? Nothing. It's going to cost you nothing because the website is a free website, number one. Number two is the plugin for the e-commerce. They said, have it for free because we'll just take a commission of everything that you sell. So, nothing. I mean, just as an example, but maybe I should give him some credit. He was 7 years old when he started a website called A Shrine to SpongeBob. In fact, it's still running. It's one of those free sites. But that was about when he was 7 years old. That's 7 years ago. So his generation, they don't know business planning. They just said, why can't we just build a site? No, but you know, you'd have to structure. It didn't strike him at all that there's so many steps and governance that you have to go through before you come up with an idea. I thought of the idea and I did this. Now, this is what your companies are competing against. They're competing with mindsets that don't have any blockers in them. Just go off and do. And it's cheap. The startup costs minuscule. The tech startup costs. Right? So now, as a 2016, do you know? And here's the other worst part is there's tons of guys. This is from the dot-com boom from 15 years ago. They were going to change the world, and many people disregarded them. Sorry, most of you guys wouldn't have heard of them. But they were going to change the world, and people said, this tech stuff, it'll never fly. You know, how many of you in your companies, yourself or your managers, who tend to be older than you, look at new stuff and say, never work. That will never work. I see people smiling everywhere. Right? It will never work. And you know something? They may be right. All of these failed. Right? But these didn't. And they took over enormous parts of industries. Right? I mean, eBay, I don't even have the stats anymore. But well, how much of stuff they sell and what they sell. You know, these here, pets.com and Webvan will delivery and will do stuff for you. This year, we will sell everything. Have you seen a picture of the Amazon warehouse? So I don't have a picture of it. You just see it's robotically controlled all over the place. And so the competitors are coming from everywhere. And sorry, Jonathan, I don't know the time.
That's all right.
It's okay.
Yeah.
It's fine. Yeah. Because I need to go. I actually want to tell you a short story of net florist, the South African net florist. So, I mean, can you imagine? It's around 12, 15 years old now. I mean, who would have thought of selling flowers over the internet? I mean, the actual concept, even now, flows. Who sells flowers over the internet? So the founder of Net Florist, Ryan Becker, and this is quite public because he gave a fantastic talk on how he started Net Florist. You know the traditional idea of how you start businesses? You find a gap. You try and find a solution, you do some market research, and then you kind of fill in the gap. This is his story. I'll give you the really short version. He was at an internet company when the internet was quite early in South Africa. A large retail client came to him and said, came to the internet company and said, can you build us a website that we can transact on? The e-commerce wasn't even really new. So the company, well, it was macro because he disclosed it. So they started building the sites to see how they can transact over the internet. When they built the site, they said, okay, but what shall we sell? Because these are techie guys now. Right? Now what are they going to do? They are only going to build a website for a client. And they said, shoot, what shall we sell? And Valentine's Day was in 2 weeks' time. So they came, well, why don't we try flowers? Right, that's it. Why don't we try flowers? And so they phoned a florist and said, listen, we'll send you an order. And you know what that was? Someone put an order on the website and they phoned the florist. This is like really, really basic stuff. So they phoned the florist. So they said if they got 5 orders that day, they proved the concept and they could build the website for Metro. So they got, I think, 30 orders or something that day. And said, oh, that's quite cool. And they told the florist. And then they're going back to Metro to tell them, hey, we can build a site. But what happened is the next day they got more orders. But geez, Valentine's Day is over. And then 3 months later they got so many orders that they had to go and get florists from all over the place now. And there was someone sitting on the phone the whole day picking up, listening and phoning florists and said, can you do this, please can you write this down? And suddenly someone said, can you do it to Cape Town? And then, why can't they? You know, the old, if you remember, what was it called? The company that did Interflora, where you phoned through. This is before you, lots of you. Interflora, you could phone through. And so they phoned them, and a few months later they realized this is their business. And so they started selling flowers totally by accident. Right. And now, you know, Interflora now, more business is done through, net florists that's non-flowers related. Gifts. And a month and a half ago, even I was amazed because I went to my nephew's birthday and this cake gets delivered. And it's a net florist cake. So, you know, these things now, because again, me, I'm old-fashioned. let's go bake a cake, let's go to the bakery and ask them to bake a cake. Just phoned in and said, tomorrow morning, can you have it sent here to Morningside? Cake's there in no time. So now, what the implications are for other bakeries and all of that is just, I don't know. But certainly, if you can just pick up, well, not pick up the phone, send an email, go to the website and say, click on that picture and say, this is the address, here's my money. There you are. So suddenly, what can you not sell on the internet now? If you can sell a cake on the internet, I mean, I don't know what else you can't sell on the internet. So, the thing is, it is getting cheaper to be a competitor. They are getting faster. They are scaling more. They are coming from places you don't know at all. And the thing is, you don't even have a mechanism to find out who they are. Right? So this is an interesting point. So in 1960, this is the average index of large companies. If you were in the large company index, you were there for an average of 60 years. GM, Ford, you were there for 60 years. 2015, you were there for an average of 15 years. And the implications of that is, if you were big and established, you are going to be small and disrupted. That is exactly what it is saying. There are very few companies that had long and traditional asset bases and competitive advantages are finding it to be completely disappearing completely, absolutely. So now, what do? What's happening is you don't know who your competitors are. You don't know where they're coming from. And when they come, they're not going to come onto the scene and take ages like you did to be a competitor. They're going to scale really fast. They're going to come at a lower cost base than you do, because you have legacy systems that they don't have. My 14-year-old son, I listen to him all the time. He's my IT consultant. Because whenever, now my default position is, son, I need to do this. He says, why would you want to do that? Just use this and you get there. Oh, okay, so now I feel increasingly sure. Right, but I use him as a test because for him, he just does not see the hurdles I see. He doesn't go through the steps of business development that I go through. And he does not go through the idea of competition that I go through. He doesn't see it at all. And these are the guys who in 4 years' time, or 3 years' time, he's going to be in a university or, well, I don't know the university anymore, but he's going to be in a place of learning in some shape or form, because that may be different as well. Right. And he's going to dream up something, I'm hoping. Right. And it's going to disrupt yours. Right. So this is what it is. So the question is now, having pointed out, look, it's a competitive environment that you don't know. Right? What do you do? I kind of given you the problem, but where's the solution? Right? And this is maybe to diagnose two things when it comes to risks. Is that in the first time is we didn't see it coming. I mean, Uber just came. Didn't see it coming. It just came. So we just did not see it coming. You're going to get smacked in the face when you didn't see it coming. And that to some extent is, I wouldn't say forgivable, but it's understandable. Right. Second one though is this is less understandable. This is the guy from Blockbuster, which is the biggest video company in the US, says Netflix can't deliver content the way we can. By the way, who uses Netflix here? PST, Netflix? Not really. So I have Netflix at home because I have small kids. They tell me, why you use Netflix? It's 142 rand and it's on demand all the time. Whenever you want, whatever you want, you can watch 13 episodes in a stretch. Right. So now, and he says they can't deliver content like we can, because you know how they do it? We can deliver the video, the DVD to your house, whenever you want it. Right, in 2 days' time, right? Whereas Netflix is, what do I want? Okay, that one. Right now, of course, they went out of business. Because what they did is, they knew about the risk, but they underestimated it. It will never work. That idea of, now they still have to go through what we went through. No, they don't. So the thing is, you have got to find a way to identify the risk. And two, if you've identified, is to figure out what exactly is the impact that it has. So, how do you identify a risk that you don't know? How do you find out the invisible enemy? Right, any ideas here? It's kind of tricky to say, but how do you find out things that you don't know? Sorry? Ask our children. And actually, that is exactly what I have proposed. It's exactly what I proposed in a different form. Right? Is the most unexpected risk comes from competitors you don't know, from an industry you don't know. Largely, Uber did not come from the taxi industry. They did not improve the taxi model as it stood. Totally different industry. In fact, it came from nothing. To be honest, Airbnb came from nothing. So the trick is, this is one of the best things you can do. And when I call trend analysis, is what is happening out there? What is happening out there? What are the macro things that are happening out there? Especially the technology trends that are happening out there. What is it? Right, and it's beyond your span of vision. So, and I'll go through a couple of them just now. Is what are the main trends in technology that is happening right now? Right, and I'll go through maybe some things. What is that? Do you know? A drone. Right. Which industry does it impact? Okay, by the way, this is now not rhetorical questions. I actually want an answer. Sorry? Photography, absolutely. Can you see how? Right. Movies are now made with drones. Right, you know, suddenly, and I used to wonder, I saw the making of some movie, and the guy's on a mountain, and I wondered, how did they film that? And then the making of it shows this drone going round and round the mountain. I mean, it's like, imagine the cost savings you've got from that. What else does it affect?
Delivery.
Sorry?
Deliveries.
Deliveries, absolutely. So Amazon have got drone packages already. There are certain regulations that can't go above 120 meters. So, now, do you know what the implication for that is? It's not that it's just cheap. Is that you can deliver ice cream now. That's what you can do now. You can deliver ice cream now. Because that there doesn't have any traffic at all. It can send you stuff immediately. Life-saving medicines right now. Medical, right now. And suddenly the instant gratification thing is shooting up. What else is it used for?
Flowers.
Flowers. That's it. Again, that's a delivery thing. What else? Sorry? Security. Absolutely. Incredible. Can absolutely change the security issue. You sit in your house and you've got a drone with a small camera that just goes around there. So can you imagine the idea of the security guard who does his nightly patrol? Why? Don't have to do the nightly patrol anymore. In fact, you can have a guy in India patrolling your warehouse from his laptop at home, connected to your drone in South Africa. You see the implications of these things here. Now you look at the drone and say, what's the effect has it got in your industry? By the way, fishing. Stretch your mind a bit. Fishing. So you know what they've done with this? Sorry?
I'm anticipating.
Oh, yes, absolutely. So this drone takes this line, goes out to sea over the breakers, and you don't cast it anymore. Goes all over there, it kind of checks out for the big fish and drops the line right there. No jokes. Check YouTube, you won't see them. You don't have to cast anymore. You just take this thing, and again, where do you fish from? Wherever you feel like it. Wherever you feel like it. So the idea of the drone is not just its portability, it is its remote aspect that you need to take into account. Now, in your industry, start looking at what's the application of drones. So there's two things here. One is to improve your industry, and two is what if a competitor takes a drone and starts using it? How will it disrupt you? Right. And I've chosen a couple of things, and I'm going to explain to you why. Blockchain. Who has not heard of blockchain? Put your hand up. No, please be honest. Put your hand right up. Right. And clearly the rest of you have heard of it. Do you know what it is? Anyone can explain? No, you've only heard of it. right? Then that's it. So this here is, in many of the articles that I've read and speakers that we've come to, they say that the blockchain is to this generation is the equivalent to what the internet was to the last generation. The internet completely changed the world. I mean, can you imagine life without the internet right now? I mean, I kind of grew up before internet days, you know, memos and stuff like that, right? It's completely irrelevant to you guys, many of you guys here. But before the internet, you can't imagine not being online, right? So blockchain is touted to be the technology that will be to this generation what the internet was to the last. Can you imagine how disruptive this is? Now, it's got enormous application in the financial services industry, right? And maybe I should explain one thing about the blockchain. Let me give you an example. How about if you want to prove you own something? You want to prove that you own it. Like, I own my car. How do I know that I own my car? Because I've got some documents to say so. The blockchain is this electronic record of my name on that car. No one can change that record. And it's out there on the internet. So you know that I own it. No, I lost my form, I need to go to Home Affairs and they lost this and so no, it's on the internet. And no one can change it. That's what it's called, blockchain. It's stamped on a block at this date. Terence is the owner of this car. And the only time it changes is when I agree to it. Right, and then it becomes a different stamp. So can you imagine when now you just put all your stuff onto the internet in this blockchain and you can prove ownership at any given time.
Sure.
Yo. You prove ownership at any given time. That means now there's a whole bunch of industries, lawyers don't like it.
Absolutely.
Right? So, immediately, insurance companies can now prove that you actually are insured for the stuff you say you're insured. By the way, I just had a claim not rejected because they don't know what to do. Is someone broke into my house, stole my 2 bicycles. They're cheap bicycles, right? So they got 30,000. Stole my bicycle and said, can you prove you had a bicycle? And I'm going through like 200 photographs to figure out where my daughter was sitting on this bicycle, because it's a 5-year-old bicycle. I said, you know something, what must I do? Must I go and take a photograph and notice every single thing that I have, etc.? Once you have a record of your major things, that's it, it's yours. Immediately. No change. So, yes.
Is it captured in my purchase?
Sorry?
Where does it capture in my purchase?
So, wherever it wants to, there's a whole mechanism for that. Read up on it. It will disrupt a great deal of industries. How will it disrupt yours? So, blockchain. The Internet of Things, heard of it? Right, do you know what the impact is? For insurance, huge impact. Right, you must go read what the impact is. It's incredible impact. Because now, you can actually find out, for example, where all your possessions are at any given time. And they can talk to each other. I mean, the simplest and the most sort of silliest example is the fridge that goes and orders milk because it ran out of milk. Right? Because what it is, it's connected to a sensor that says I have nothing, and then sends an email to Pick and Pay to say please deliver milk. And that's kind of a farcical example of it. But imagine every device connected to every other device talking to everything else. That means I know where my car is parked outside, right? And I know that because I left it there, but it will not be there now. So it may not be there now, but and I don't have this app, but on my phone should start ringing if it moves out a kilometer away from where I am. It says your car has moved a kilometer away. Is that possible with the technology now? Oh, it was possible with the technology 5 years ago. Right? Where the imagination stopped is connecting the car to my phone. And that's geolocation. Right? And by the way, this is old technology, relatively speaking. The applications of it are enormous. Right? But guess what happens? Insurance companies can't charge premiums anymore because we'll always know where our stuff is when it's stolen. You know, if you're going to be able to recover your stuff all the time, are you with me here? Am I explaining it properly? I said, the insurance company pays you because it's stolen and you don't know where it is. Right. But now you will know where it is because my fridge will tell you where my car is now. So I've got 4 other devices connected to me that will tell me it's tracking my car as I speak. Right now. How can you charge premiums to the extent that you do it already? implications are enormous. Artificial intelligence, I actually don't want to go into this business, but this is much more complicated. I just chose the 4 trends to say, these are major trends, and there's 20. How will it impact your business? Because someone somewhere is taking these trends and trying to figure out, how can I chip away at a competitor who doesn't even know I'm going to be there? But that app for the car driving away and phoning me doesn't exist yet. So you guys can run off and start developing it. But someone somewhere is dreaming it up right now. And they're doing it for their own benefit, and that means they're going to take away something from you. In fact, if they can take away your whole company, it's even better. Right. So and they're going to do it how cheaply? Very cheaply. How fast? Very fast. Right. And you don't even know about it. Because you're not even keeping track of it. You're only looking, it's like you know, the boxing match, you know your opponent all the time. Right? But suddenly you get whacked by an invisible enemy in the ring. You don't even know they were there. Right? Go looking for it. So, you know, one of the things is a trend analysis will try and bring up to you what is out there. But how to determine the impact is the person who's closest is not always the best person. So, and I hope you can see this is not so great in the light. You read that, everyone?
Maybe read it out.
So there's an old guy. I know what I'm talking about. I've got 30 years in this industry. And this is the young guy says, how does it help you understand technology that is 6 months old? In a youth-oriented country. Not right. And then the guy said, don't hit me with your modem. And you guys don't even know what a modem is. So, but here's the point. How do you take people who've got lots of experience, who lots of the experience is now irrelevant? Right, I've got 30 years experience. Yeah, but this technology is only 6 months old. Blockchain is only 5 years old. The expert in blockchain is 23 years old. Because when he was 18, he heard of it, and he's got 5 years industry experience, which is the entire age of the industry. He's the expert. You know, on our fintech company, I met a guy who's got some blockchain technologies, and had a video conference, and man, he's a kid. I spoke to him last year, and he was 22 years old. And he's got 3 blockchain applications, and he's kind of flying around the world, and he's got proof of concept out here in South Africa. He's 22 years old. And he's an expert, by the way. And you can't deny that he's an expert because the technology is only 5 years old. See, and so you've got to get an expert to tell you what the impact is. Don't use guys internally because they don't know. And there's a bit of ego, unfortunately, here. You know, why do we have to go elsewhere? You know, I've been here 30 years. Yeah. So get someone who's a futurist, who can see who studies this and sees the impact of it. Go get another voice. Right, go get an expert. My son. To me, he's the expert because he's my default person whenever I need any app. Right? And you know, I accept it immediately. Get some. You know this better than I do. I don't even know where to start with this yet. Give me an hour, I'll be back with the answer. Right. So that's it. Go get an expert. This is also a cool one. Is go and find someone who tried it and failed it. You know, particularly like someone in another industry or someone in your industry who tried to address this and said, geez, we tried to compete and we screwed up. Go and get the lessons. You have no time to make your own mistakes here. Just be clear. You got no time anymore to make your own mistakes. You got to start learning as much as possible. So you know, ask people who know, who are not bound by your company. You know, having been in the bank, which I loved for 12 years, man, when I see the gaps, when I come out of there, there's gaps glaring like you can't believe. And when I was there, I thought I had it further. You know, so, and we're all the same. So, you know, we also ignore risks we take for granted. 10 years ago, no one had electricity as a risk till load shedding came along. And then suddenly, oh my God. Right. 5 years ago, no one had water for risk. By the way, just as an example, who works in a corporate building, a largish building? Or do you have that? Not yet, right. If there's no water in the building closes. Just remember that. If you have no water in the building closes. Because the toilets, just for the simple reason, the toilets don't work. Right? As a very simple example. Now, that's a risk. And when you've got people-driven businesses, Well, that's where your assets lie. And if they're not productive, water. And you know what's the worst thing about water? What's the difference between water and electricity?
You can do
Sorry?
it. You can't do
You
it.
can't do it? No. Let me tell you what it is. Yeah, I'm here, you can't do that. From a company and commercial point of view, there's a substitute for electricity. There's no substitute for water. So the electricity crisis is a red herring. Is that, shoot, we have load shedding, but we've got inverters, we've got generators, we've got UPSs, we've got all of those things, and we can go as normal for a lot. What's the substitute for water? Don't tell me juice like someone said. If someone said that, cool drinks, juice. Yeah, exactly. No, that requires water. No, beer. No, it requires water. No substitute for water. There's no substitute for water, So think about that and say, hey, there's no substitute for water. And if you have a water-intensive company, now what? Mine's closed completely because they use enormous amounts of water. Right, FMCG companies, JIC, I used to be a JIC chemist. Right, JIC is like 97% water. Just only a small bit of chemicals. Most of it is water, 90-80% is water. So yeah, that's where we are. And how's that? 1 year ago, no one had banking services. Let me explain that. Does everyone have a bank account? Can you imagine not having a bank account? Not possible. And you know who does not have a banking account? The Guptas. They don't have a banking account because no one wants to bank them. How do you do business? No, you can't do business. So someone takes away your banking services, you do cease to exist as a company. Eish. So, but we take it for granted that these things are there. How many things in your business are you taking for granted? Remember what I said right at the beginning. We assume we will be in business tomorrow. Why? Because we take for granted a whole lot of things. And then you get technology disruptors coming along and absolutely challenging those assumptions. Right? Who's vulnerable there? Not them. Right? It is you. So look, who's feeling safe about their business? Gee, some are doom and gloom. Who feels like, no, we are on top of it now. We know what's happening. There's nothing else. Anyone feeling really safe? We need to have a talk. Yes?
Data-intensive businesses, like banks and auditors, for example. Same still.
Right. So I didn't go through the AI. Right, but I will go through it now. So the AI is, go to YouTube, I forgot the girl's name, because I don't know if it's a girl, it's a robot. Yeah, it's a Japanese robot. And talk to that business. Talk to that robot. You will see how they do it. No idea at all that you're not talking to a human. So Siri and the equivalents of Siri, right? You're talking to intelligent people there all the time. So the person you're talking to in the future on the phone is not just someone in the Philippines or in India. It may be no one. Right. On our fintech platform, we've got a few chatbots, what they call chatbots. When you phone the call center, it's not a call center. It's actually a piece of software. That's it. It's a piece of software. You don't know that. Just when it gets slightly complicated, it says, can I refer you to my manager? And then you get the human on the voice side. But most of the time, you're actually talking to a non-person. So call centers are enormously manual and labor intensive. No, they're not anymore. So the entire call center industry with the AI, right, will entirely be a big box. So you know the call center, of which many call centers are said, if I find out physically where you are, I will come and shoot you. Right, so if you have that frustration, right, now it's going to be a box with some AI in it. So no. Manufacturing is a different story, right, except for one thing. If you've been to a car plant, there's no people there. So just be very clear, it will be disrupted in some shape or form. Now you can't stop it, but if you knew about it, you could manage it. And one way of managing it is to say, like some of our clients said, go and find us the solutions for this, so that instead of someone else disrupting us, we will do it. Right. So, banks thought they have trust, except for blockchain. Manufacturers, to the point. You know this car here, ever seen this model before? Guess why you haven't? because it was 3D printed. The whole car. Heard of 3D printing? The whole car was 3D printed. So manufacturing, I think it's not going to be disrupted by technology. The entire car, all the tires and all that stuff was 3D printed. There we go. And in fact, those plans for 3D printing, they're on the internet. You have big enough 3D printer, you can print a car. Exactly. Medical professionals on all the expertise stuff, you know, Dr. Google is, and by the way, Dr. Google is something real, because how's this? Google is a fantastic company, it really is. They're so cutting edge. Is if you type out something, right? So when the mad cow disease was around, you type mad cow disease, they changed their results where they've got advisory pieces up front. That means they actually worked with a bunch of doctors and said, listen, we're going to anticipate that people are going to be asking about this. Right? Can we have some really good advice up front? So they created the content for that. I mean, I had kidney stones a couple of months ago. First thing it was, had this pain, falling on the floor, get my phone, go to Google and say, okay, left side is it appendicitis? Right. In the 15 minutes it took me to go to the hospital, I diagnosed what it was. I told him, I've got a pain here, it's not appendicitis because it's on this side and it's going for it. And my wife was looking at me and said, you're in pain and you're looking at the phone. I said, I just want to know what I have. And within the first 2 minutes, I knew what it wasn't. And I said, I think it's kidney stones because it's that blah, blah, blah. And why? Because I typed in kidney stones, it didn't just describe kidney stones. Because when you're typing in kidney stones, the person typing it in usually thinks he's got it. So the results that come up to the top are the ones that, what must I do about it? And go to the doctor as soon as possible. So that's AI in action. You know, so I didn't go to a doctor. I went straight to the hospital and told them what was wrong with me. They just confirmed it. So, you know, just the one line I should say is, the future is closer than you think. I mean, this took from the beginning of humanity. That's how long it took for human progress. The first kind of million and thousands of years was just the wheel. And from here, it's shooting up incredibly. Can't stop it. It's going to happen. The trick is, if the future is closer than you think, the only way to do it is anticipate. Because it's not going to come from your industry, it's going to come from somewhere else. Okay, John, that's my talk.